throughout this season, we will be hopping on here, chatting with contestants, chatting with judges, with guest judges, taking your questions. And today we are actually going to be joined by our first episode guest, Dawn with Cat in the Box. She'll be signing on here in a couple minutes. And actually, I see here she is.
Hi, Liz. Good morning.
Good morning, Dawn. How are you?
Very good. Nice to see you.
It's good to see you. How have you been?
Much better now.
Now that
it took me a whole day to recover from my, excitement about the video. So.
Oh, good. Oh, that's so good. How has everything been? Because we actually filmed your episode in November, so there's been some time gone by. How have you been doing business-wise?
Oh, everything's been, continuing apace. It's just great. Every day something new when you're starting an e-commerce business and you haven't done it before. So every day's a new challenge.
The learning curve, right? You got to get in there and
extremely steep. It's Mount Kilimanjaro. So.
Yes. That's awesome. So you actually signed up for the first spot on the first day. Was that like schedule or was that strategy for you?
It's actually more of a personal strategy. In anything you want to be either the first or the last because I think you're more memorable. But actually for me, I needed to be first. I needed to, I was well prepared. I'm always extremely prepared. So it wasn't a matter of I needed extra time. I needed to be first and have it in the rearview mirror. So
I like that. I totally understand that. It's like get in, get it done, and then you can be on to the next.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. So this was actually yesterday when we launched was the first time that you've seen the judges' deliberation and their feedback. How did you feel? Was there anything that they said that really stood out?
Well, I got to tell you, watching it the first time, I kind of had like one eye closed, kind of looking out the side. I was actually so delighted to hear what they had to say. They really are kind beyond words. So I probably shouldn't have been worried because they weren't. It isn't Shark Tank. They're not looking to cut anybody down. They're looking to provide those sort of little gold nuggets of tips from people who have gone before, been there, done that, and that's exactly what they did. So I couldn't have been more thrilled to hear ultimately their comments, but apprehensive at first.
Of course. That's always the unknown, right?
Exactly.
Was there anything from the questions when you first did your pitch that you took away and you thought, aha, now this is something that you've been able to kind of almost immediately put into place?
Well, Steve was talking about the margins right off the bat. I mean, it's something, of course, that's always, brewing in the background here in my head too, something that's concerned me. And, he's absolutely spot on target with that concern. And with, what are the ways that you can improve your margins and, increase production to cut costs of the, of the runs and also to redesign the product, which is, something that I'm thinking about in a way that makes it more cost effective to ship. So, and ultimately will be more cost effective to produce as well. So he is exactly, on target of what I need to be thinking about.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's good. I was rewatching the pitch yesterday just when it went live and we were, doing all of the launch stuff. And I was reminded of one of my favorite parts is that you had that piece that was written about the boxes that's called them Warhol-esque. I mean, what a great compliment to the boxes. But how did that article come about?
I actually, I don't know, actually. It certainly wasn't one of the ideas that I pitched, and I wasn't initially familiar with the magazine either, but I noticed an uptick in visits to my site that could not be explained by something I had consciously done. So I just went searching, did a little Google Alerts thing and found it that way. And so, I mean, it's to be compared in any way to, Andy Warhol. I mean, that's a little bit of hyperbole, but, obviously an extreme compliment and one that I do continuously share with my spouse whenever possible. So
Yeah, I know I would hang that on the wall and use it as leverage at any moment. Like, hang on, I'm not ready to make dinner. I need to go and, be
and
enjoy my Warhol-esqueness.
yes, exactly. My genius, especially that part too. We can't forget
Exactly. One of the questions that we get a lot from people is like, when do you know it's time to start? I feel like an entrepreneur, and you have kind of a non-traditional journey to getting to this part. One of the things that I loved when I was going through all of the applications was your application video. You were talking about how, if you need somebody to feed a team, a high school team of, come over, bring them, I'm your girl. But you really kind of stepped out and jumped a big hurdle to step into, starting your own business. What was it that kind of pushed you over to say, you know what, I'm going to go learn all of this new stuff and tackle that learning curve?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, it was a natural time to be thinking about a big change in my life. My daughter had just gone off to college, and I had not worked a traditional job in 25 years. And so you start thinking about what's the rest of my life going to look like. And interestingly, I had actually had a traditional job when I was initially married and before I had kids, and I was making more money than my husband. And I've watched his career really take off in the time that I've been home with the kids. And I realized I don't have the 25 years that he had to do that. And I have to think, like, what do I want to make of my time? And this is something, I've been inventing things especially for my pets. I wrote about that on my About Us page on my website, but I've been inventing things for my pets since I was really an elementary schooler. So I started thinking, well, if my pets like them and people think they're clever, and why don't I, pursue that as an idea? So I've never been one to be afraid of hard work or afraid of jumping into something I don't know how to do. I'm really, really good at digging deep into something, researching things, reading, listening to podcasts. I've got endless podcasts that I've listened to, and just trying. So I felt that there was nothing to be lost by trying. So
I like that. And it does take that kind of oomph of like, I'm going to listen to podcasts. I'm going to read blog posts. I'm going to go and figure out who has the best content that I can trust and jump off with it. I like that. It does take that kind of go-getterness. I'm going to go with that word today. Go-getterness.
The thing about being a solo entrepreneur is that you're alone a lot of the time. When you have colleagues at a job, as it was a long time ago, but I'm familiar with what that feels like. You have people to bounce ideas off of. You get to see what other people are doing. When you're sitting around in your own office, in your own house by yourself, there really isn't anybody else to ask or to see how how others are doing it. And by the same token, you don't want to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
People have gone before me, and they have made every mistake that can be made. And many of these folks, especially the judges here, are serial entrepreneurs. They have learned from their previous experiences and improved upon the processes that they use. So why would I presume to want to start from scratch when others are willing to share everything that they've learned? So
absolutely. Well, and I want to circle back to something else you said kind of in that answer before, which is you'd been out of the traditional workplace for a while. And, a lot of parents, and I've kind of talked about this, with my friends, I have younger kids, and at some point you do kind of make sacrifices in your career. And so how do you straddle that hurdle of jumping back into the workforce, being able to contribute a significant amount of money to the household when you took those years either stepped back or totally out of the workplace while raising kids? And I think that goes for traditionally for the moms, and we can speak to that, but I think there are also some dads coming home now and taking steps back. And so the entrepreneurial side of this, being able to jump back in and do something like this that doesn't count on, that traditional trajectory of your job. I love that point of view.
Right. And it's not something you realize until you are in my shoes. I mean, when I, first started staying home, I was in my 20s. And you think, oh, I'm going to stay home with the kids. I'll stay home till they're, in kindergarten or so. And then kindergarten comes and goes. And I'm sure that how hard it is to juggle both, especially when you've got sick kids. And it just ended up, continuing that I was
Yep.
a stay-at-home parent. And it's not until you're looking in retrospect, wow, all that time went, all the time I could have been building. And I love working. So it wasn't that I was just trying to, get out of something I didn't enjoy. I really, really love to work. But it's hard to start over when you're middle-aged, and the thought of starting all over from the bottom again. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. And I'm not saying that I probably wouldn't enjoy my job if I did that too. I'm just saying that this was a chance for me to do something that I've sort of always dreamed about, and that, it's a big risk reward. It may pay off, and it may have otherwise just been a terrific adventure, but either way I win. So
I love it. I love it. Well, I want to talk a little bit about when the episode went live yesterday, and we've had a great amount of traction over on your episode on YouTube. And I know that you've been over there interacting with people. What has that been like, just to kind of have all of these people all of a sudden, chatting about your business on YouTube?
Well, you've seen enough, internet posts on things where people are awfully snarky, and everybody is, I'm just, I'm so touched. The comments are, people are supportive, and they're encouraging, and they have such kind things to say. And I can't help but, want to respond because they've taken the time out to say something encouraging to me. So, I want to respond to everyone.
I know it really has been very encouraging. I think I'm going to steal your word there, but like, to be in the comments and watching people talk about the different episodes, there really is a kindness and a desire, which I think speaks to this entrepreneurial community, this niche, this e-commerce, is that people really are willing to jump in and talk, speak to the struggles that you're having. Because as you pointed out, a lot of us are solopreneurs,
Right.
So you're in it alone all day, every day, finding places where you can kind of like, oh yeah, I've had that same thing, or I wonder if she did this. And there really is just kind of a give back, a kindness, hey, we're all in this together, even though we're all sitting at our desks by ourselves every day.
Right. I'm sure that many of the people who are commenting are in my exact same shoes, just starting out. They have an idea. They want to make a go of it. So they're looking for the same thing that I'm looking for, some encouragement too, that, they're on the right path, or that, just go, just go for it.
Yeah. Well, and one of the, I think there is something to that affirmation, the validation of, yes, you're doing okay. One of the questions that I see most often come into our inbox is, if you could just look at this for me, if you could just tell me, and talking to people, I've done it, gone to mentors who are, beyond where I'm at in my journey, and just been like, can you just please look at this idea? I think that I'm there, but I need somebody who's made it past this point to tell me. And I think that's always so beneficial for everybody in the community to be reaching forward and to be reaching back.
And they're not in a position. If you ask your family or your friends, what do you think of my product idea, even, or I'm thinking of doing this. I mean, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place in answering you. Yeah. And but these folks, no, they're going to give it to you real. So that's what you need. I mean, you need someone to say, no, what are you thinking? Don't do that. Or great idea, go for it.
Absolutely. Well, and it is, everybody hits that point too, right? Where it's like, oh, I took this to my family, and they think it's going to be a terrible idea, or consistently. Now, my husband now understands what I do, but when we first got married, people would be like, what does Liz do? And he would be like, yeah, you're going to have to ask her. Like, there's always that pause when people first meet you and are trying to figure out you sell things online. That's cool, so how do you do that? I don't understand. So that is nice.
Well, you think a product like mine too, which is really easy to explain, but there's still a moment of, in fact, someone just asked me that on Sunday. My husband and I actually ballroom dance, and it's a friend that I've met through ballroom dancing, and she said, no, I don't think I've ever asked you what you do. And I said, well, and even just explained, she's like, you make a cat toy. You're like, well, yes, but, yep, I make cat toys. That's just, at some point you just give. And actually, to your point too, one of the great things, and we're on Instagram right now, one of the things that I've gotten personally out of my business that I wasn't expecting, was to meet this great community of animal lovers and specifically cat lovers. And it was something sort of like I was thinking, oh, this is a marketing thing. You got to be on Instagram. But what I've gotten back is a chance to meet all of these, like-minded people who love pets just the way I do. And I've gotten to be really, friendly with a lot of them. And, one of them was telling me, oh, she's, thinking of adopting this elderly cat at the shelter. What do I think? And I've got another one who she actually photoshops her cat into scenes from movies. And she's really clever. And she sends me,
I love that.
card and for Christmas. I was just lovely. But after you posted the 5-minute pitch thing yesterday on Instagram, I started getting some followers who are in the entrepreneurial world.
Yep.
And then it finally struck me. It's like, wow, I could actually not just have a community of cat lovers here, but I could have a community of other like-minded people in this other area aspect of my life. And wouldn't that be helpful? Wouldn't I get a lot out of that too? And hopefully maybe eventually I'd be able to contribute as well. So
I like that. And that is one of the things that we hope to do, is to build a community of people, who we are giving back to and who are giving back to each other, and to, kind of bridge that gap. So I love that. Okay. So let's talk about the box for a minute, because I have, Amarit, the milk carton, which I love. And we had the cheese wedge for the filming as well. But how did this, because there's a lot of detail in the box that if you're just looking at, you can't see, like there's actually nutrition facts, the use within, 7 days. And there's a story. I love this. From our herd to your clouder. And there's like a whole story. I'm assuming you wrote this, correct?
I did, of course. Yeah.
Okay. You're so creative. I love this. I had kind of a similar thought when I got this, because it Velcros and you can break it down so that it breaks down flat. But you said something about this in your pitch, because when I got it, I was like, oh, this is brilliant, because then you can break it down and put it away. That would be me, right? Like I would probably.
I think we have that in common.
Yeah, but we want to be type A, and things are going to be where they need to go. In my current season with 3 small children, sometimes that's more a thought process in my head than what actually happens in my house. But
Two kids, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. But now you said people actually, while they're excited about this feature, maybe don't use it as often as you thought that they would.
I can't see that anybody's used it at all, frankly. So that's a thought for future projects. Maybe it's not important that it be collapsible. I mean, it'll be important from the point of view of shipping, that it's
right.
At least starts out in a more compact form. But I think people like it. And they're looking, I mean, a lot of cat toys are frankly, not attractive.
Fuzzy.
Yeah, carpety, thistly. And I think people think it's clever. And
yeah.
So I often see, sometimes people have an account for themselves, an account for their cats, and sometimes they'll have a picture of just themselves on their self account in their living room with the cat toy in the background, and it's mine. So I don't think that they're having any intention of collapsing it. They want it out. The cats like it, so the more often that it's out, the more often they can use it. And I think they think it's a conversation piece. That's my guess anyway. I guess I probably should ask.
Yeah. Yeah, some customer feedback on that would be good, but
right.
you kind of want to be like,
so
hey,
in
your personal pictures, will you also tag the box? Because I would like that. Oh, well, good. Well, so are there new designs kind of up and coming then that we can be excited about?
I'm working on one on paper at the moment. So the first step is for me to be thinking about dimensions and how would I put it together, especially if I'm not using Velcro and I want it to be more compact. I have to think ahead